I just created this 10-step value scale using a single pigment of watercolor paint. Why did I do it? And what do I think you will gain from completing this exercise yourself? Well, keep watching to find out. If you have been painting in watercolor for very long, you have surely heard about the importance of getting your values right. Maybe you've heard the oft-repeated phrase, value does all the work, but color gets all the credit. Or maybe you've heard a similar statement, that it doesn't really matter what color you use in your painting as long as you get the values right. These are bold statements, and I believe they're absolutely true. In order to really progress in your watercolor practice and create expressive and dynamic paintings, you absolutely have to develop your value awareness. What is value awareness? Well, it means mastering these 3 essential skills. Number 1, you have to be able to see the true relative values of the subject you're painting. Okay, that might seem kind of obvious and easy, but trust me, it isn't. Because our minds and our eye don't always tell us the truth. To be able to see values, you have to be able to ignore the color information that your eye is focused on. You have to be able to set aside what you think you see and really look at your subject. And you have to be able to override what your brain is telling you about the color of your subject and analyze that subject with a focus on value. Number 2, you have to be able to create accurate values using your chosen painting medium. In oil and acrylic painting, you learn how to add white or black paint to shift values for a given color. But in watercolor, you have to understand how to adjust the amount of water and pigment to achieve your desired tonal value. This takes practice. Again, it sounds easy, but anyone who has painted in watercolor for any amount of time knows that controlling the delicate balance of water to pigment is challenging. And finally, number 3, you have to be able to arrange and apply the relative tonal values in a way that accurately communicates the form and shape and depth of your subject. In other words, you have to learn how to use value as one of the tools of composition. So, back to my 10-step value scale. Why do I encourage my watercolor students to create something like this? I believe that creating an accurate 10-step value scale like this can help you develop the 3 skills I just talked about. Here's how. Before you can begin to create an accurate scale like this, you have to first stop and look and really see the values and their relationship to each other. You have to be able to compare one value step to the next and see how they are arranged in equal steps from one value to the next. You have to be able to judge what a middle gray tone is and how other tones relate to it. You'll also have to be able to accurately mix the water and pigment on the palette or on the paper to achieve the right tone. You have to know how to adjust the ratio of water to pigment and also account for the value shift that happens as the paint dries. These are all skills that are essential to painting in watercolor. And creating a scale like this is an excellent way to practice these skills. So how do you get started? First, select a color. I suggest a dark neutral paint. I use Daniel Smith neutral tint paint to create this value scale. But any other dark neutral color would work great. Payne's Gray or Indigo would also be great choices. Next, create a 10-step scale on your watercolor paper like this. Number each step from 1 to 10. The number 1 will represent your lowest or darkest value, and the number 10 will represent your highest or lightest value. If you want a guide for this and some more detailed instructions, download my free 10-step value scale template from my website and trace it onto your watercolor paper. It's free, and it includes detailed instructions for this process. Check out the link in the video description below. Now follow the directions on my template to mix and apply the paint. When you're done, let the paint dry, and then use a grayscale value finder like this to see how accurate you were. Once you create a scale like this in one color, try it with another relatively dark color. Try it with a deep blue like ultramarine or a dark red like alizarin crimson, or whatever colors you have on your palette. Use a deep purple or even a dark brown to see if you can create a full range of values from every one of these colors. If you complete this exercise and absorb its lessons, you will learn a lot about seeing and creating values, and you'll also have a much better understanding of the potential range of values that can be created with the paint on your palette. So what are you waiting for? Grab my free template using the link below, get out your paints, and create a 10-step value scale like this. You will gain a lot of value from this exercise. Thanks for watching. Have a great day and keep on growing in watercolor.